Casey Committee.
All right. Looks like, 1 second, we might not be good.
We want to chat.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. It doesn't work this time. We'll make sure we're next time. Doing our best.
Appreciate it. Thank you. If we could, let's rise for pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get some help on a roll call, please?
Yes. Oh. Mr. Hunter.
Here.
Mr. Douglas.
Here.
Mr. Beck. Here. Mr. Payne. Here. Mayor Myers.
Yes.
I'd ask that we have a look at last month's meeting minutes and.
A waiver review. No, there was no minutes on this one. That just got left on there. I apologize for coming.
Oh, gotcha. We will move to one of several public hearings we have. The first one tonight is regarding zoning code changes and the plan development NCA land application. And if I could, I'd like to introduce Mr. Greg Daniels, who has some words for us, and he's going to be helping us lead some discussion and have some perspective on that.
Thank you. I'll kind of kick it off. So the first public hearing is to require, as a condition of rezoning for plan development, that the applicants join Centerburg's new community authority if it's created by council. Council is currently considering that. Mr. Daniels has drafted the initial petition that we'll review and submit to council in the near future. The second part of that is requiring land dedication. I know we had a discussion about this last meeting. When we get to that point in the agenda, we'll talk a little bit about what John and I have discussed about the cash in lieu. So currently, everything we've discussed, the 1,500 square feet per unit, the land dedication language, and I have copies here. I apologize if you guys need them. I can put them together and hand them out. It's the same language we've reviewed the last couple meetings. But generally, I did ask Mr. Daniels to join us because we are having this discussion. We're considering making that a requirement. I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of questions about what an NCA can and can't do. I actually have my own questions that we'll get to before the hearing's done, but that's just an introduction to what this public hearing is about and an opportunity for our public to speak on that. If you're here for the Schlage Law variances, that's actually our third public hearing, and we'll get to that pretty quickly.
So I'll ask the public if they have any comments about the NCA, and is that correct? We'll go to the public.
Yep.
Public comments portion for that. Or am I getting grouped up here on the agenda? Am I getting grouped up on the agenda here?
No, you're perfect. It's time for the public to chat about
NCAs and land dedications and some of those other topics. Any comments regarding that today?
I'd just like to hear the plan on structure for the NCA and whether the code is going to make a developer petition condition for applying for PV, or if the village is establishing one NCA and the condition is that the developer opt into said NCA.
Yeah, it's the latter.
the
So
ladder.
the idea is we have one every time there's a new development, as part of the development conditions to be required to add into the developments. There's a few developments we know of right now.
Right.
We'll just do those upfront information, but we're not planning on forming multiple NCAs or anything like that.
One NCA board.
One NCA, that's right.
Can the village is considered a developer under 349 that can petition on its own?
Right, and then we'll have, for the couple of neighborhoods that we know are coming, there'll be petitioners too.
Okay, and the village doesn't have to have control of the property to establish the NCA under 349?
Well, there is, at least one village parcel.
Correct, 80 Miller Street.
Okay, so you just need to control one piece, not the entire?
Yeah, and that's why the other parties are gonna be, for the initial property, they're also signing the petition. So collectively, everyone, we need to have everyone who controls property sign the petition. But once we have that, you don't have to control all the property to sign, you're just signing as the capital. So, and we've been having some discussions if we're gonna have, 2, 3, 4 in the initial petition.
Is there ability for a developer to control that owns a piece to petition for its own separate NCA?
There is that ability. We'll evaluate that if that happens. Part of the logic behind having one NCA is, just for like routine, what I'll call like your normal residential development, it doesn't really make sense to have the administrative burdens of multiple NCAs. And we've seen this in a lot of cities where, for the residential developments at least, they've been moving towards one NCA for all, the residential development. If there is a unique project or one that doesn't fit with the development of the rest of the NCA, sometimes you do some. We've seen that before where it's like, such a big, unique development. Or sometimes you have NCAs that are split. You have a residential NCA and you have an industrial NCA. Sure. We just evaluate those as those come.
So questions I have?
When it comes to creating a single residential NCA for the village, is there ability for the board within the parameters of council to establish a different community development fee per area, or is it a single community development?
Legally, it can be different. You can have separate ones. I will tell you just from experience, administratively, it's just easier to have the same one.
Yeah.
But if there's reasons to have it different.
I'll use an example. So as we work with some developers, there may be a solution that is some combination of agreement to TIF and a lower NCA fee. We've had that discussion as a potential just recently. So that's something that we could facilitate even through a single NCA.
Even through a single NCA, you can have different charges in different areas. For those reasons. You got to remember it, and then it just becomes a little bit more complicated to explain to residents when they come in why their neighborhood is different. But legally, it's okay. Just get into those practical considerations.
Any other questions? Did Julie have your hand up? The commission have any questions regarding NCAs?
What would you suggest you start out with, or regarding the percentage dollars dedicated to NCA?
For like millage rate?
How would you determine?
Yeah, so what we've been talking about is up to 10. How you determine is really, thinking about your overall development level versus your needs. We've had some discussion on that. I don't think we're ready to say, hey, this is the targeted amount yet.
Is it whether or not you determine?
Yeah, usually it's a sources and uses analysis. We think we might have this much we need to pay for. We think we might have this much development. And see what the revenue needs to be. There's also some market feedback that comes along with that. How does this fit with other NCAs in the area? How does this fit the overall tax rate structure? So you don't want to get too out of line. we've had some, as I said, we've had some discussions.
And as I've discussed with this commission, the goal is create the toolbox of tools that the village has to address growth-related needs. The NCA is one step of that. The other is the comp plan, which is really not just land use, but determining future costs due to growth, and then using that analysis to back into what an NCA rate should be. I'll let Greg kind of jump in if I'm speaking out of turn, but the NCA rate can be established higher for a period of time and lower as time goes on, as the things that the growth affected start to be resolved.
During a specific time, it can be changed or not.
It's really just depends on the needs and the structure.
Right.
So again, what we're planning on doing, and this is the same for pretty much all NCAs out there, is there'll be a maximum rate that council approves, and within that, we can, start out at a lower rate. We can start out, like I said, at a higher rate and lower it over time based on financing needs. We have the flexibility within that maximum rate, and it just really becomes needs. I have some NCAs that start out relatively high and reduce over time. I have some that start out, relatively low, but never reduce, just perpetually.
Restrictions.
Badly with restrictions. No, it's just how we, think it's best to set it up. And then the max rate will be a legal restriction, but that's approved by council.
Is there, anything you guys like when money needs to be spent? So if we do a high early on, can we pull off that for later road repairs down the road? Is there anything saying
No, I would say, so legally, no, you can't make it up. Practically, you will start to have some resident questions. You're collecting money from them, they see in the bank account, they'll be asking what you do.
What about the committees? How are they established? How do you put it voted into that?
So the NCA is run by a board of trustees, city council, or village council.
All people vote.
Yeah, they're all village council.
So what he's saying is not from village council, they're appointed.
They don't have the, residency requirements in areas that they're.
I'd say, again, legally, they have to be citizens. The statute doesn't define who the citizen of what. I'd say at least a little high. Most of the time, it works out that it also makes sense to be citizens of the village. I usually find the boards work best when you have a mix of residents within the NCA and then some that are, you can get both perspectives.
When the development's included in the NCA, is that in perpetuity, or do they serve their time and then fall off that development, or is it always there?
We have flexibility to do either. We've been talking about it as at least for starters, perpetuity. And then these things can be flexible over time. If it served its purpose, 20, 30 years from now, then there's a procedure to solve it.
That would give them some hope and ended up needs that at one time.
Yeah, and you can do that. We haven't been talking about this NCA.
I think even if there's a perpetual NCA on a community, it doesn't mean that the development fee can't phase out, even if they're still in name a member of an NCA. I will say we had some conversations with the city of New Albany this week. They started, and maybe you might know more about this than I. They started with residential NCA because of all of their commercial growth. From what I'm understanding, they don't really leverage their residential NCA anymore. Because 30 years later, I think it probably served its purpose.
Yeah.
And now they get most of their revenue off that business NCA.
And that's a good example. where you actually had a charge that started out pretty high. That one was 9.75 mils over all the residences involved. Over time, and they had a basket of improvements. So that went to upgrade the fire station, get a fire truck. It also built a bunch of school facilities. And there's about $50 million worth of bonds that got sold and backed by this NCA charge. Okay. Over time, as New Albany grew, that 9.75 eventually got down to about 3.5. Once they paid off the bonds, the decision was made, this was 30 years into the life of the NCA at that point, the decision was made, it had done its purpose. They didn't need to collect any more residential charges. And to Rick's point, really the way that NCA continues to be funded is in the business park, it is producing so much income tax now that the city is contributing a portion of its income tax to the NCA, so it continue to operate. But that's 30 years down the line for that particular one. There are others that similarly have charges go down over time. And some that are set up that it's just picking an example here, 5 mils. And that 5 mils is 30 years per house. And they just do it on a house by house basis, cut it off after 30 years per house. There's one in Westerville, not Tarpon, where I get set up there. And it's never going to go down. It's never going to change. It's just going to continue for 30 years per house, probably 18 years.
Are those typically paired with abatement in your experience?
I'm not sure I'd say typically. You do see them sometimes paired with the probably more for like or your dense urban redevelopment sites where you do need some effective abatement in addition to an NCA, usually a TIF, some grant plans. For most of your new build residential developments, there's typically not an abatement.
Are these fees collected for property taxes?
No, usually it just gets put on property tax.
Any more questions from our commission?
Any questions?
I've been saving mine. I have a few. So just so the council members are aware, and obviously the commission, Mr. Danos did provide us with the draft petition and draft resolution ordinance for the NCA, which is a council action, not a commission action, but it is moving in that direction. Once we've had a chance to kind of do a once over, I do plan to send it out to council for comments. So some of these questions are related to what I've seen thus far in the petition. So we have a few things we've noted, at least right now, Greg, which is obviously wastewater, need for future street improvements. There was one other one I was missing. But one thing I think we'll need to address is storm as well. I don't know. Issue with stormwater. I don't know if we do that through utility or through the NCA. You and I can talk about that. And then can an NCA, if it fits kind of a, and I think I agree with you, we always want to justify why the fee is there. So if it fits a growth related need, can there be some operational costs in there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I would add, I've been working a number of different, especially villages and cities lately, they're having to grow. They have their NCA charge at a certain level to pay for the infrastructure, but there's also a component of that that they set aside for ongoing maintenance of that infrastructure. So if they're building, say, like this, or a thoroughfare road that's being funded out, there's also some that keep up with this.
One of the discussions that's been ongoing, and this may not be the solution for that, or it may, is the need, though not the revenue, as we grow for a like village law enforcement. So is that something you could like just getting that off the ground, if you could assess that in a legitimate way to the growth? I mean, could you start a police department? So, legally, I guess.
Well, yeah, so legally, the police department will still be the difference. Okay, the NCA can't have its own. police force.
Correct.
That's prohibited by statute. But the NCA can contribute to the village to fund things like police, things like fire that serve the NCA, which of course.
And I know when I talked to Chief McGann, one thought was as growth happens, he's been down a firefighter for a couple years. So, the NCA could determine that the best use of growth-related funds is provide for him funding for that additional position.
Provide funding, help police, salaries. I got a couple NCAs that for security purposes for the NCA use a pretty substantial amount of their money to hire off police officers to help enhance patrols. So you can do that.
Sounds like within reason, the sky's the limit on what an NCA board, which is who makes the ultimate, can determine the funding.
In consultation with village council.
Yeah.
And that's where the petition comes in that we're looking at right now and trying to figure out what all we talk about in that petition. So all these ideas are things we want to hear and make sure we got the petition crafted. Right? As folks are thinking about the petition, really kind of think about it like that. It sets the ground rules that the NCA is going to operate within the basic structure. And then once they have those, then the NCA, the board of trustees, the village council, it's their job to go out and implement that vision within the governance.
So just to kind of bring it back to the NCA language, the language proposed to the commission is basically to require as a condition of rezoning that the applicant requesting rezoning be required to join the NCA. It's pretty simple there. The land dedication piece, so that's the second piece of this public hearing that we haven't talked about much yet. Land dedication, we did take this from City of Johnstown. They require 1,500 square feet of land per home for park improvement. We're envisioning that a little different here. I think we really want to try and start some kind of agricultural preservation initiative. The only sticking point I think I've heard from the commission thus far on this is how do we value if we're going to take cash in lieu? And I will say this, I think the village's position, especially as it relates to this agricultural improvement or preservation, is that we would always prefer the land. But if there's a reason or a way that, the commission would consider a cash in lieu, how do we value that? At this point, I'm not finding a good factor. I reached out to Sam at the land bank. He goes, well, it's the difference between raw farmland at 20, 25,000 and developable farmland at 35, 40,000. So in talking to John, I think at this point, the language we'll use will be market rate. And then it'll be up to us and the applicant to determine what market rate is at the time we decide on the cash. Again, this is language recommendation to council. Council could decide to do a different thing. But at this point, I think the best solution we have is market rate. And we'll just have to go out and do, at the moment, we want to maybe accept cash in lieu of land, do an appraisal or some kind of analysis of that, which I would think would be 3 neighboring properties that have recently sold. What's the value?
I think, if we're trying to get a large piece of land altogether, that is probably going to be a useful thing.
Yeah.
I just speaking from city with Burton Parks, often the land we get is connected to development, like on the edge of development.
Yeah.
So what you end up with is a couple acres here and a couple acres here and a couple acres there,
And that's not what we're looking for.
which wouldn't work. So it may end up with that being is more useful if what we're looking at is getting to the acre or agricultural.
So next one. And then all we'd have to do is create a separate fund. Kind of hold that. All right.
more public or commission thoughts on CAs and regulations? All right. So we'll close that public hearing. I'll give some more comment. We will open a public hearing on gravel parking zoning code change. Public begin. Thoughts on, or hopefully speaking about zoning code change regarding gravel parking.
I will give a primer on this one as well. So I approached the commission to allow gravel parking in the village central and RO, residential occupational, residential office areas. There's a couple of reasons, and then I'm gonna ask maybe Zach to give how he structured this language. But basically, the concept is that we don't have a great stormwater system in the village, so creating more pavement isn't the best thing right now. Not to say though that down the road, the village won't want to move away from gravel. I just don't know that the time is now to do that. I will, full disclosure, the village is very interested in parking this. We have 2 brand new parking areas that this will determine whether we will need to invest, I'd say at least 50, maybe up to $100,000 in paving for those lots to comply, or if we can leave them gravel for a period of time. So basically, the first person that would come to you asking for an exception would be the village center. But even as we were doing this, we did have a resident business owner come to John asking about putting in his own parking area. And he had always envisioned gravel parking, and I think he was a little surprised when he found out he couldn't. So not saying that we haven't seen any ideas or plans on that yet, but obviously there's other interest in the village potentially for that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Zach. What I approach Zach with is we want to allow it now because I think the time's not right for us to start requiring paving. But how do we kind of limit that so that in 50 years we don't have a property owner go, well, I was given an exception and so I can keep my gravel parking lot forever. And so I think our concept, maybe I'm misremembering Zach, so correct me. Our concept is anytime you apply for a new zoning permit, so I'd say a change of occupancy for a new business, you need to do a new sign, you need to change, maybe make a change to your building. Any exception granted by the planning commission would expire. They could reapply and you could re-grant the exception, but at least if we hit a point in the village's future where we don't want gravel parking anymore, there's a way for us to kind of cut that off. Is that somewhat accurate?
Yeah, I believe the terminology we use is a new zoning permit.
Yeah.
Can I run that?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right, cool. All right, so what you've got is currently, what is that? Section 1115.03E of the village ordinances restricts parking to basically hard surfaces. So this proposed amendment, so as the planning commission, you would be making a recommendation to council. Council gets to vote, majority vote on your recommendation to adopt or not adopt your recommendation. So this is simply you guys are considering it, telling council what you feel about it. But the addition to the code is number 4, and what it allows for is an applicant who lives a parcel in either VC or RO district will apply to the planning commission. They must provide a maintenance plan. That maintenance plan is to be monitored by the village administrator. Essentially, if they fail to keep the gravel out of the roadway, then they will be liable for a violation of this code section. So really, the idea is it allows for gravel parking in limited circumstances. They have to maintain, they can't just apply and then forget about it. They've got their approval. They have to maintain, keep it maintained so that it doesn't cause any further issues. And as Rick was saying, if they apply for a new zoning permit, they have to come back and reapply to the commission for a renewed exception to this section. So planning commission would be considering making a recommendation to council on this, section E4 being added to the ordinances of the village.
So we consider gravel permeable or impervious?
I consider gravel pervious more, let's just say this, more pervious than asphalt. It's more pervious than asphalt. Yeah.
So this is just adding basically number 4 to it. Right, Zach? This is just adding this to the ordinance we have.
Correct. And John is also suggesting a amendment to this, number 4A to add EI.
That would include your school and so on A, it said the parcel must be zoned either B, C, or RO, so which is your village center district or residential offers and services district. Also add in public and institutional districts. If you remember, we rezoned all the schools and our parcels is that because it's the best zoning use for it. So that way if the school needed to add some sort of ancillary parking, they would have the ability to do it. Additionally, we would gain in parks. So like, if we want to add more parking down, have a new park, and we're gravel down there.
So that's our primer. If you guys have any questions or if the public has any comment, there we go.
Quick question, I don't understand the language. Does this affect persons like residents in private use or is this a public?
So this is just for, we wanted to try and limit it to the districts right now that provide public parking. So it wouldn't make any changes to the parking requirements in residential areas. But currently, if you were to place a new driveway in a residential area, the code would not allow gravel. It would require, now if you have a gravel drive, you can maintain that gravel drive. But if there's a new like surface put down, it would have to be paid. I will admit, part of the reason I wanted to keep it restricted was we obviously have a lot of new development potential coming. And I didn't want to get into a discussion of, well, hey, we could put gravel parking in this new development or all of our houses could have gravel drives. I didn't want to create that complication when we're trying to really target a specific need, which is downtown parking to some extent.
When we put this in the zoning, it was not to change present state, it was to change constructions and build. Since this was put in, I believe you had buildings in town torn down, place to be gravel on the block. So yeah, any of those times that somebody's thinking about gravel in residences, come to us for that situation. Historically, the problem with gravel has been it gets into the street and it still plows and the vehicles pushing into our already streamed sewer storm system. So,
I'd say just in general, including residential, I would be good to consider some of the zoning pervious options because there are besides gravel paving that allow the ground to soak up water and because the ground is filtering too, and so environmentally it's better to have some of that happening where possible. So long-term, as we're reviewing this, including for new residential, allowing some of that if people are willing to do it, I think would be a good idea. And not just kind of getting ourselves on this too.
Yeah, I think I like the concept of trying when the time is right to do some improvements on the surface lots in town. To look at those options. But I'll be honest, part of this is really before I go recommend to council that we invest a pretty significant chunk of change on paving these lots. Let's have this discussion. So,
And I mean, for those reasons, for gravel anyway, but I understand the issues, but, for the environmental, the filtering that happens, you get cars sitting in oil and then it's running off the pavement into stormwater, having that filtering natural is good, so having that.
Yes, sir.
With these exceptions, I know you said that the thought is they would last until someone were to reapply for some sort of change in zoning. Other than that, are these exceptions permanent if they don't have to reapply, or would there be after X number of years, you would have to reapply where it can then be considered, have you met the standards of maintaining that gravel? Even if there are not been like complaints made, but someone from the village could say like, well, it's time for you to reapply. Over the last 3 years, your gravel's been everywhere except your parking area. So we're gonna deny that exception this time.
Yeah, sometimes it's very hard to think through the best solution to a problem, because the flip side of that is I also don't want to put this commission in a position, or even the village, of saying, hey, you can have gravel parking today, and then flip around a year later and say, oh, now you got to pave it or else you're in trouble. Does that make sense? Like, then they've got to take on, they maybe started a project when they got their zoning permit. They maybe started a project where they thought, okay, I'm not going to spend $50,000 paving a lot. And if we too soon after that approval now slap them with a requirement to pave, they might never have done started the business or, moved in. So we were trying to find a good balance of not shocking anybody with like a big bill to have to pave or do something, but also not let it go on forever. And so when Zach and I talked, this seemed like the best way, because especially since this is more of a commercial residential district, frequently you'll have businesses change hands, or even just a sign permit itself would generate, okay, well, you got to come back and see if, we still want to have gravel park. Tenant change. So change of occupancy, anytime there's a new owner of the building, especially a commercial building, they've got to do a change of occupancy permit. They have to come back and ask if they can have gravel park. So it just seemed like the best solution right now.
It gives the flexibility to evaluate, the new business is going to be a high traffic drive-through or something like that with hundreds of vehicles coming in a day. This is not to say, listen, this is going to be in your road, not where you need to be versus an architect or something. Driving 1 or 2 vehicles in a day. So it's a discussion. It's not necessarily that we're trying to create barriers, we just want to understand, make a great decision. All right, good question.
Can we tie the violations into that ongoing thing? If someone's always violating, I keep going with it.
Yeah, Zach, would we be able to put in like what do we think, a number, like, I don't want to go too high, but I feel like if you get 5 violations on your parking lot, you think that's a good number?
That's something, but it's
Yeah.
just another thing like engine, you never do anything, you gotta live with it. Well, you
Not
have
really.
5 violations in a year, you're gonna do something. You'd have to do something.
So I'll ask Zach if maybe we can amend and say, hey, 5 violations related to your parking lot. Void your exception by commission. You got to come back and ask for it again. And can we do something like that, Zach?
Yeah, the maintenance mention to violation section. I'm sure we could.
I think what they can do is if they're comfortable with you making the change in the language to go to council, council has the ultimate say anyway.
At some point, we need to talk about impervious surfaces and stormwater runoff, how to fund that.
Yes.
That's part of the problem. This is stopgap.
Correct. Like many. So yes, you were there, Mr. Beck. I did have a discussion with council that, and this has been, I think, a discussion prior to me that it may be time for the village to start considering a stormwater utility. It would be a small fee pay in addition to your sewer and water, to help deal with stormwater. I think we're gonna see where things go with our aggregation discussion as well as maybe how trash hauling goes, with the hope that if we can save a good amount of money on people's utility bills, they won't really have too big a problem with the stormwater. But at this point, we have $1 million general fund budget to pay for everything in the village. And so doing a major stormwater job is just not something that has a lot of funding set aside for it. So. Yes. Yes.
Excellent. So we will close the public hearing on gravel cars and some We'll open a public hearing on the so-called 212 Fairview Avenue property. And the setbacks and variances. Some special notes for you. So, yeah, we're gonna allow the public to speak and ask any questions and share your thoughts on that. We had some discussion that was, it typically is unofficial last meeting. Mr.
Broward, yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, you're okay. Yeah, so we had some unofficial discussions with the as we discussed last time, we made an application for variance on these lots. We're considering 11 townhome style single family homes. Depending on the lot, it would be minimum lot area, minimum lot width, minimum lot width on corner lots, minimum lot depth, front yard setback, side yard setback. Since that meeting, there's a couple of requests. One was to shift the front of the units 5 feet back, or have a 5 foot additional, which would still violate the front yard setback, but would create more room to drive for parking, so cars aren't in the sidewalk. We were able to do that. I think in the meeting, we were thinking that was going to violate rear setback, but it did not. We had the room to shift those units back without violating rear setback. So that's in our updated preliminary plan. We also got asked for some updated 3D renderings, which were Rick had on the screen there. So, you know, I think they were thinking more of the 1-story units that you saw last time, gave them some feedback that I think we kind of preferred the look of the 2-story options, so they tried to meld those together a little bit. So they are thinking 1-story for all units, but they would offer 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom options. That as for price points, they're in the low 300s. They estimate 300,000 to 335,000. Believe that was mostly what the concerns were last time. There were some discussions about privacy fences. I don't think a decision has been made there. And some information requested on drainage, and I think Rick and John may be able to speak on that better than I can, but effectively the opinion is from our engineers and the village engineer is that it's not going to be status quo from a stormwater and drainage. With the improvements, it would improve the drainage and stormwater in that area, particularly at 40 Leonard. So that's the application and some of the updates since we last spoke.
And if you haven't seen it, I did forward the email from our village engineer. He did review the hydraulic information. he confirms that the one ask he had is that they might extend the curb along Fairview all the way to Leonard. That would help capture some more water. But significant, to Mr. Quillen's point there, significant improvement to the stormwater in that area, not just maintaining. So typically a developer who comes in would have to at least not worsen a stormwater problem. But our engineers do believe that once this is completed, it will significantly fix some historic stormwater problems in that area. So, I've got designs, maps up here if anybody needs to see them, but that's what we've got.
So how many total variances do we have?
It depends on the lot.
These are just the old nursing.
Excuse me?
Types.
Oh, types. Yeah, I think it still depends on the lot.
It depends on how you classify. Because
So that's the current.
two of the ones that he mentioned. would be
Yeah, this is
more
what
lots,
they're
but lot size. So the way that we work it would be lot size, setback.
So just in the back of the side.
So
Yeah, just
consistent
the-
on all of them would be front yard, side yard setback.
So your setbacks, lot size.
And then some meet the lot area standards, some do not, depending on the lot. And then I think you mentioned some of the R3s for like a separate subdivision, not necessarily. So some of the corner setbacks are 100 feet. So we would technically be.
Is that a garage in the property get torn down?
On the north side there,
Yes.
I believe it is.
Still shows on the rendering, but
I think they, if you go to the next page, Rick, I think they have a unit on that.
oh, okay. Yeah, so that's where the garage was after, before.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, public hearings. Yeah.
So question, you did say that there was a plan to go further back in the lots. That goes straight up to my property, so I guess the question is, if you're building further back in the lot, what would be the distance from the structure to the back of those lots, all the way on the north side up against the Centerburg Meadows subdivision?
Yeah, Rick, can you read the setback there, at the top of the dotted line?
So that's a
So the 25-foot rear setback is right there.
So we're not asking for rear setback.
Yeah.
So we would not be violating that 25-foot setback in fact, I think they have about 10 foot of room there.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't draw completely, but here's 25 feet from the rear. There's obviously more distance, and they've already accounted for, they originally asked for a 20-foot front. They've already accounted for a 25-foot front. So, I mean, that's probably half the distance. Let me see if it's written on here, but it looks like you're probably greater than 30, maybe 35. Yeah, you're probably 35 feet off the,
So they remember, they'll be outside their 25 feet. If that was a multifamily, they could go within 25 feet, up to 25 feet. So
That's the same as the one.
sometimes like when we look at these for the variances or we talk about these developments, you gotta remember like the other option that could be built there, where it could be and what it would look
This is a good old answer, $90.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad you cleared up my misunderstanding.
No, yeah.
But yeah, cool. I appreciate that fact. Seeing that rendering, it sets a lot of my mind in this project. Gosh. Yeah, so one other one, just, so you mentioned that the thought is this should improve storm and sewer runoff or water runoff in this area. Should that also extend back into the neighboring property? Just when the previous facility was there, I learned from my neighbors as well that the edge properties of Centerburg Meadows had significant water runoff. Like I had constant drainage in my sump pump, all hours of the day. And since that facility has been demolished, it doesn't do that anymore. So you're saying in theory, this project would prevent that type of situation moving forward.
In theory, yes. So, and that's why they obviously had their engineers design their stormwater improvements. We then asked them to share their data and their design with our village engineers to get their feedback. And they said, based on how it's designed and proposed, there should be significant improvement from when it was a nursing home and even from how it is today. Because they've got, is the next one all of the stormwater? Maybe? So what they've added here is 2 catch basins here, 2 catch basins here, curb and gutter along the whole street. This is where the engineers did ask, keep that curb and gutter going to keep it out of the 40 Leonard. They also added catch basin here.
So theoretically, it should be draining from the rear of that property towards the front of that property.
Correct.
Okay.
Is the drainage going to Clayton Street? Is there a true storm drain, like underground storm drain, that's gonna be capturing this and routing it to Clayton Street?
I'll have to look. Most of the storm was coming here to Leonard and Fairview. And it's pretty much, I went there when we were looking at Mr. What's your name again? I'm sorry.
Marcus.
Yeah, Mr. Marcus had called a few months ago and I put him in touch with Schleybal's engineers. And I'd gone out to the site and there used to be like a private storm thing that the nursing home was using.
That one, there's also a long letter.
Yeah, and so when I looked at that catch basin there, it pretty much constantly water flowing into it. Nice day, rainy day, doesn't matter. There's constant water flowing into it. So it's gonna take a lot of stuff off of this single catch basin. I'd have to look at the line and make sure, but I do believe it may be going to a different line. But unfortunately, I'm not an engineer, so I didn't do the engineering review myself. But there is another catch basin down here with a line, so I'll have to look. I didn't expect a Clayton question, I just, yeah.
So right now, the water runs, when it doesn't hit Rick's area, it runs, I guess if you're looking at that, it runs to the right from Fairview to Jones and then back towards Centerburg Meadows.
Okay.
And that's why they need a true way to capture that water to get it to Clayton. So I think there are some drains on Clayton Street to accommodate them.
Yeah.
What you're saying, the catch basin on the corner, it runs like.
Well, I'm saying when it doesn't hit your catch basin, it heads towards Jones and goes left towards Centerburg Meadows rather than right towards Clayton Street.
They're saying they're the catch basin right out in the center of the street.
But I guess the question is, with heavy rains, is it going somewhere? Is it just fill up the catch basin in the street? You know,
Well, no, these catch basins are gonna have to be tied into actual storm lines. So they'd be installing storm line to the village storm line and then into wherever. So yeah, it's not just a repository because that wouldn't work, so.
Yeah, and in the nursing home had some type of sump facility
Yeah.
that went back toward, like, with your house. It also had a facility that went over.
Oh, yeah.
By my townhouses and all the way over. to-
My superintendent went out and looked at them. We're like, we have no idea where these are even going. That was a weird setup that got, at least the stuff near 40 Leonard was torn out when they demoed it. And then we did see the stuff on the north end by the parking lot. And we're like, I don't know that anybody knows where this line, it could have just been going into the ground somewhere. So.
Any chance we've gotten any, comments that have been outside of this meeting? Email?
I had his letter, but I think we sorted
We're
that.
good.
I think it was the word townhome that had you.
Yeah.
Every time he says it, I'm like, we use a different term.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
my
that-
wife and I's exact conversation when we got your response, like, that word townhome.
Because people, when people hear townhome, right, it's like you say cinder block, you know, I do know exactly what I'm saying, but it's not the correct term for what a cinder block is. I think when people hear townhome, they always assume it's multi-story attached, right? You think multi, at least 2-story, 3, somewhere between 3 to 8 unit, right? Like just row. And so, so it's like when, you know, even it's like that term, like they hit it and they're like, oh, that's true. So when I responded back, I'm like, single family, non-shared wall. Yes.
I think it's gonna be very nice. Increase, it's a nice addition.
If I, do you have any, or I can print one off after the meeting? Or do you have an email that I can send?
I need the email.
Yeah, if you write me down an email, I can get you a copy of the.
You don't have internet out there yet. What's that? You don't have internet out there. I asked Shorty the other day, I said, well, that tile you put across there, how long did it take the water to drain off? 2 days.
Here you go.
Oh, there we go. See you.
Of course, we got it in our water.
I think we're ready to close the public hearing there. And, I think I circle back to this, right, Zach? Yeah, we'll come back to that. So we will close that public hearing and, oh my gosh, it says public comments on it. Is that for just anything in general? Anything in general, public comments, open to you folks. Thank you all. We will close the general public comment period, and we will move to reports.
So it hasn't been that long since we saw each other play. Still, we're in the busy part of the season. We still are getting more accessory structures. Because that's good for people the first time for. And then we just have a lot in the works with switching to a permit portal. There's a lot going on there, so I know exactly a lot of stuff to glance at after we'll kind of like take a real hard look at the application, kind of try to make it easier, and maybe do some verbiage changes. Some of them are, the change of occupancy one will be one that will definitely change, because that is very confusing to property. Because I think change of occupancy and they think building, right? We just mean change of tenant or change of occupant. I think it's why. So I think we change it. Hopefully we get that up sooner than later, right? Something like that.
So you put that on the agenda for next month?
That, changing it?
Yeah.
I'll have to get it. I think I already have that. I think we talked about it one time. I just want to make sure that we have approved it. Still, it's easy to read. But yeah, for that. That should be like the only one that changed. And then we'll obviously have an application for rezoning since there isn't currently. It's just a request.
Just a clarification, you say that next month's meeting, actually,
You'll get on with it, great. Yeah, I'll try to get to that.
Come on, now, you can turn around.
just curious.
Let me ask, does the commission have to approve application changes as long as they fit the code? Oh, the titles, I got it.
It's also just good to have like extra eyes on it, because again, like, I think the reason why it would be nice to change it is it's hard to know, that it's a confusing application. So we have people all the time that will argue with me, like, I don't have to do that. You do have to do it. I understand the point, why you think you don't need to do it, you're just talking about a different thing than what we're talking about. And they usually didn't cite the building. So.
Another curious thing, I'll be like an outlier with terminology or using energy across the area.
The change of, so that permit exists everywhere, but for most places, it's a building permit. So actually what I had, was a zoning certificate, of compliance, which is what it was. Or we, instead of changing tenant, because then sometimes it's not a change of tenant, it's a change of owner, so just zoning certificate and certificate of compliance permit. That way, I have most of the language here, or whatever, I'll reread it, make sure.
I'll make a comment on that too. So in working in other communities, it is helpful when you want to apply for something, there is some form that the community gives you as an attorney applying. This is what they want me to submit when I apply for whatever it is. So if there's a updated application that kind of has a checklist or something, it'd be pretty sweet. Right.
Here.
John, are you waiting for our lesson as a courtesy, or we're required to?
No, it would be a courtesy to do that, but
Can we just give you the authority to just make the change? No, you want to look us.
I
Like
would,
you work more efficient, if it's a title change in a form, it sounds like.
yeah, I kind of like rewrote like the way, it's actually a confusing, I just gave it more information. So like who needs to do it, when you need to do it, why you need to do it. And I think like right now it's just like very basic. And like I said, it's the only form that I really get like really hard kickback. And then some of the other will just be like our generalized zoning applications have billable boxes because it's meant for like to be able to do 6 or 7 different types. It has information. People are like, I don't know what to put here. And I'm like, you can leave that blank. You can leave that blank. Don't worry about that one. Actually, just fill out the information you think is pertinent. And if I need more information, I'm gonna call you back. Because some of it is like, what's the existing use? I'm like, I can look up. Like if you're putting a shed in, I don't really need to know what the existing use is.
Revive these,
Yeah, they're all
make
ones
it
that,
simple, that's all you need to do.
Mhm. The only one is a rechange of thing.
Can you do that, or?
Oh yeah. It's good. We're trying to do it in, like in conjunction with the permitting software. So that way it just is, we're gonna make sure that all of them work before we just hand them all our permits. And then they put them on, and then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, actually,
But this is all correct,
yes, all of it is.
so you guys are gonna work on this, is that correct?
If it's just a courtesy, we'll work on it and we'll bring you a report once we're done working with the permitting company, and
Let's make the life easier as soon as possible.
appreciate it.
Well, any objections, anybody?
Tracy wants to see all of them.
To read everyone.
Everyone.
No. I think he can handle that, John.
I'm up.
Yes.
All right, I'll be brief. So you'll have in your materials there, it's basically 2 different things. Number one is what is the guide to approving or denying variance? And then at the back, there is what are we motioning in this meeting? So keep in mind that the zoning code changes that were presented for the land development section of the code and for the gravel parking section of the code are just recommendations to council. Your recommendation doesn't carry a ton of weight because they still get the vote and majority rules on your recommendation. On the variance, you guys are the deciding body on a variance. When adopting, or I guess adopting isn't the right idea. When reviewing a variance application, you have three options: approve the application as is, approve with modifications or conditions, or deny the application. You're allowed to table making a vote. You have a total of 60 days to make a decision on an application. When you do make a decision, you need to adopt the findings of fact in relation to the application. The sample of that was provided, which essentially we're making the findings that the application was received, notification was provided, public hearing was had, that they applied for certain variances. The properties are three. The applicant has demonstrated pursuant to your review criteria that it's accepted. So that is your job when we get to that section on voting on the variances. You guys make the final decision, majority vote rules, and you have one of three options. And the fourth option would be to table it to the next meeting.
And then the applicant requested it. I said, in addition, the applicant can request it. Just so, sometimes, I don't think that they're going to do that in this case, but every once in a while, when they start hearing your comments, an applicant may table their application so they can go back and see after hearing kind of what you're saying, before they let you go on it, like, hey, maybe we'll pull the application, maybe we can make these adjustments and bring it back. So if they were to do that, so the official part.
That's my report.
We do have a section of old business here. Just a header.
We usually leave it, or usually leave the template exactly. So,
Move on to new business. So, if we have three items of new business, those are those three specific public hearing portions from earlier meeting. So the first item of new business would be to make some kind of motion regarding the NCA identification.
So moved.
Second.
Can we go back to that for a second? So you should be making a motion to recommend to council the adoption of proposed changes to the zoning code related to the new community authority and land dedication as presented, and that's for chapter 1107. So is that what your motion is, to recommend to council? Okay, all right.
I was just introducing, making sure we were aligned, which thing we're talking about.
First, just so everybody, I know this is complicated, and that's why I kind of asked Zach to do a little bit of refresher so that we make sure as we're going through these motions, we get them right. So,
I'll second that motion. As Zach spoke.
You supposed to read the motion.
No, he's good. I voiced it, he adopted my. What were you talking
But
about?
wait till we get to the third one. The third one's complicated.
okay, so this motion is to recommend the village council to propose changes to the zoning code related to new community authority and land dedication requirements in chapter 1107 of the zoning code. I'll call the roll. Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mayor Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Okay. If motion passes, we will schedule a public hearing for council and bring that up there.
Right, next item, gravel park.
I'm just gonna read what the proposed motion would be. Planning Commission should consider a motion to recommend to Village Council the adoption of the proposed changes to zoning code section 1115.03E of the Village Codified Ordinances to allow gravel parking in limited circumstances with the addition of District PI in Section 4A. Would someone like to make the motion to recommend to council those changes?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Okay. Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Motion passes. I will forward this on to city council and schedule a public hearing for that.
Third subject matter, 212 Fairview, community there. Exactly.
Yeah, the next thing you need to do is adopt the findings of fact.
So, based upon review criteria and public hearings, number one, these findings are facts, findings of fact are based upon not leaking Phoenix limits. Submitted materials dated April 15th, 2026, the public hearing testimony May 18th, 2026, and today, June 4th, 2026. Number two, proper notification of the public hearings was made to all interested parties. Number three, the applicant seeks variances for minimum lot area, minimum lot width of corner lots, minimum lot depth, minimum front yard building setback, and minimum side yard building setback. Number four, the applicant provided a preliminary development plan dated 5/5/2026. The property in question is zone R3. And number five, the property is question zone R3. Number six, the applicant, their application, supporting materials and public testimony, illustrated that. And then we're going to refer here to the line items in the application.
I can read those for you.
Yeah.
So they attach the following: a vicinity map showing property lines, streets, and existing zoning, a list of all property owners and their mailing addresses who have a lot line within 200 feet of any property and subject property, a statement of how the proposed variance will be in accordance with the general intent and regulations of the zoning district.
Thank you.
I'll make a recommendation of one more finding of fact as well, that amended plan was also provided and reviewed. I don't know what the date is on that.
5/20, amended plan as of 5/20. I was thinking the same thing.
Thank you.
So that, Patrick, did you make a motion to make those findings of fact?
I think I did. So we're making the motion, we'll submit a motion to approve the variance application as is, or have you open modification or conditions. Look to you guys in terms of modifications or conditions you want to discuss or.
Back up 1 second. You've made a motion to make the findings of fact. Let's vote on those findings of fact and then move on to the application.
Understood, okay.
So you've made a motion, there's not been a second, you have to adopt the findings of fact. Does someone make a second on that? So if desired. We're ready for a vote.
Taken. All right, so the motion to accept the findings of fact made by Mr. Hunter, seconded by Mayor Meyer. Yep, right. Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
All right. Findings of fact have been accepted.
And now you need to either make a vote or take.
See, we make a motion.
So
So, Mr. Douglas? Yep. Okay. We have a motion to approve the variance application as submitted. Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
Mr. Payne.
Yeah.
Variance application is approved.
I mentioned that guy.
I think it's been a while since we did variances, hasn't it?
He has one. Yeah.
We'll use it again on the next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's improving. John's in the ball and Rick running with that. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate your consideration. Yeah, first, I'll pass on word and I'll be talking to you.
All right, thanks.
See you guys. Thanks, Zach. Thank you. See you.
More motions.
Round table.
Time for Ramsey. Anything prepared yet? We're on again, Monday, June 15th, at 7 p.m. I'd like a recommendation.
All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.
What's that?
Thank you, everybody.
The only time I'm calling is
There's something about it.
Tell them
What house is it?
We're taking a granny down.
Take granted with life.
Oh. It's in the code.